Hey guys, welcome back to Environmental Issues Saving the World, one podcast at a time. I'll be your host today, Evan Arghirescu. Today we're joined by
Liam Porter.
Evan Lalor.
and Henry Dyer.
there are a lot of issues in our environment today, especially in society, and the two main ones we'll be covering is water pollution and food emission. So the regions we'll be going over is the East Coast, mostly Long Island Sound and the Connecticut River, which are both heavily polluted areas that we can try to save.
We've had efforts put in by organizations such as Save the Sound to remove that pollution and have fundraisers and events that goes towards research and other ways to remove pollution from the sound.
And you know, like you said, we have organizations trying to remove pollution from the sound, and we've been mostly successful. But that, like we said, we still need to do we still need to we need to depollute the rivers, and we need to the sound is still at risk. There are still ecosystems at risk due to our pollutants that we have caused and we have put out in our rivers and watersheds and out in the sound. And it's our responsibility as people to uh, de just reverse what we've caused.
Well, what kind of groups and organizations do you know of that are trying to make a change, and
Um,
what are they doing?
You have
Uh,
Save
so
the Sound, and the Connecticut government is actually trying to remove waste from the Connecticut River itself. You have groups of people that go out to the beaches, go out to the rivers, collect trash, swamp through the rivers, try to collect all the trash. And these organizations can only do so much. As a community, we need to stop polluting the rivers because it wouldn't have gotten to this stage without us.
See, and the thing is, all these things that you're saying are polluting the rivers, like trash, and then just like general pollution, like water pollution. Those all can be factors of the carbon footprint of food production.
Where does
wait,
where
hold
does
on.
food production mostly take place?
Well, in Connecticut, it's like we can talk about like farms or factories. Factories are mostly um cause for like water pollution with chemicals, and then also like smoke and greenhouse gases being emitted into the atmosphere. But at farms, they're very responsible for like methane gas coming from cows, and then also the pollutants in the river.
Yeah. So what you're talking about right there is a big part of the watershed, which is what I'm researching. Uh, because there are certain types of manufactured chemicals and man- pesticides that are used in farming, as well as just waste like fecal matter that contain bacteria such as E. coli and other bacteria that you can't even name. Um, and farming, well, I mean, it's not exactly bad for like it's not horrible for the environment, but around rivers that lead to these
Yeah.
tributaries, which lead to these dump off like oceans, they just get polluted by this because the idea of farming, domesticating, is not exactly natural. It's it's the opposite of natural. And the 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 things that we use to make farming applicable is generally chemicals and just things that contain like you don't exactly want in rivers. So
Evan, what is the main factor for pollution in the Long Island Sound? I know that it's a big body of water.
Yeah, it's really there's trash everywhere, plastic pollution, but I think people don't realize about like the microplastics and other stuff that are getting into the water because when there are rivers and that stuff like flowing, like people and more specifically when people just toss their trash wherever, they don't think about like where this is gonna go. They just dispose of it just to get rid of it. But they don't really realize that all these rivers connect to a larger body of water, and unfortunately, that larger body of water is the Long Island Sound. And like there's been like fish that have been fished by fishermen and stuff that have microplastics in them. It's like it's really like over the past like 20 years or so, it's really picked up.
yeah, and also the thing about these plastics affecting the ocean and like Long Island Sound, it doesn't just affect the sound; it also affects the rivers because keep in mind, microplastics don't just end up. Well, there are organisms that live in the river, and rivers support all kinds of ecosystems. And when you say microplastics, microplastics are in everything, well, mostly like foods and all kinds of agriculture, because microplastics are uh, absorbed by certain um, plants, and just having microplastics in the water in these rivers, especially where, like as we talked about before, Henry, where people farm, that like that's how microplastics gets into food. It's through pollution in water, because the way that microplastics get into, like, let's say broccoli, or let's say like greens that you eat on a regular basis, is that it gets absorbed through the soil. And how does that get into the soil? Through the rivers.
Basically, adding on to what you were saying, a lot of people like organic foods now, and like to know that their food is organically made. But I mean, at some point, at what point is the organic food just the same as the food that is made with chemicals? Because the organic food, like you were saying, like the plastics are like taken up by the soil, and they just go into the broccoli and like other foods. So like at what point is organic food not as effective?
See, well, going back to what Liam said, it's kind of like a cycle between like the farms using pesticides, polluting the water, and then eventually the water, the rivers, those polluted areas, they eventually um are like circle back around kind of, and like end up damaging the crops in like certain ways, like you said, the microplastics in the water that are absorbed in the soil, which damage the crops. So like it's just kind of like an endless cycle of like pesticides and then the microplastics that come from the water. And that's kind of why people are trying to start like sourcing their food locally and um, getting food from like local farms, because they're trying to do more sustainable farming, uh, like smaller areas instead of like mass production.
Yeah.
You might be thinking, what can we do? Like, it sounds like a big issue. It sounds like a lot to take in at once. But there is a lot of, I wouldn't say easy, I wouldn't say quick, but there are a lot of fixes that everybody can do, no matter who they are.
Yeah. If we're talking about microplastics, I would say that microplastics don't exactly cause issues with the crops. It causes issues with the people, because it is heavily studied that the effect that microplastic has on cells, and microplastics absorbed by the body damage cells, and when absorbed by the cells, it causes cell death. And I mean, sure, you might not notice this if it's microplastics. You're not going to see it in the plants.
Well, what can we do about that?
What we can do about this is just producing less plastic, and that also just producing more.
As regular people, what can we do about it? Because producing less plastic is more of a factory issue. It's
well,
more, it's
well,
more of a
definitely-
big issue.
Yeah,
Like,
but
what can-
everyone around the world uses plastic. It's not gonna be like, oh yeah, here we got to rule like one piece of plastic per day or
Well,
something.
that's kinda
what
why-
they have to do though.
You produce alternatives.
Yeah, but they also, if they want to use all that plastic, fine. But they also need to start reusing it.
That's
A
kind
lot-
of
a
why
lot of
it
these
comes back to
things-
the food production, because it's
Well-
like the factories that package their foods in plastics. If we minimalize that, it'll mean less.
So, is there anything as a community we can do to stop the pollution and stop the carbon emissions?
Well, to stop, you can't really stop the carbon emissions that the factories are doing, because that's always gonna like happen. I mean, like they're always gonna keep producing the food, like no matter what. But one thing that you can do as a community is start buying food more locally, like from farms, farmers markets, and just like local stores, so that you're not like feeding into the supply chain of like big manufacturing companies and big farms that are like
So,
destroying everything.
well, the thing is about, like, you can't just shut down an entire factory that produces like carbon dioxide. What you can do is you just don't support them. You don't buy their products, and you make it more rewarding to be sustainable.
Also, I think that a big thing is using reusable bags when you're going to the store, any store. 'Cause when you buy, like, they have 5 cent. You have to buy a plastic bag for 5 cents, but that still
Is this still
ruins the
5 cents?
Who
environment.
even wants to
Yeah.
pay 5 cents
So-
for a plastic bag?
A lot of
Yeah, you
people.
know, no,
Like,
a
even
lot
if-
of people.
Even if you
I
are
don't think
buying
anyone-
plastic bags, like
No, yeah, no.
It's
That's
so
why
stupid. It's
they
wasting
implemented
money.
it, because then like after like you buy a $1 reusable bag, after how many trips?
20.
You're saving 20 trips. You're saving
Yeah,
the
but-
environment. You don't have to buy other plastic bags.
Not every time you go to the grocery store, you're buying one bag. You could buy use 10 bags worth of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. So that's why
It adds up.
you just
like
don't
other
have
so
bags.
wait, so
Just,
let's
like,
just talk
put-
about what you can
some
do to
people
solve
some
that.
people
Carry
could, some people
everything
could
one
be
by
spending like
one.
20 cents just on plastic bags alone. You just buy one big one for $1, $2. You save the environment. You save money.
and less trips.
You know, actually,
upstairs.
what my parents do is that they don't use bags. They use it. We have this huge like industrial tub that we all just carry into our
some
room.
some stores have boxes, cardboard
Yeah,
boxes.
Yeah.
like
I've seen
if
that,
you
yeah.
if you shop at Costco, you can just ask them for boxes that they use to ship produce. And you can just put all of your stuff in boxes and just carry that into the house. And
It's
that's
a good way
all.
to recycle.
It's all cardboard recyclable. It's all recyclable.
They have those liquor stores. I'm not saying I've bought. When I go with my parents, they always have like the cardboard boxes
Oh,
that they
yeah.
give you your
Yeah,
bottles.
but
Yeah, I know you're talking like
especially
You
the
know?
big box. They put all like
Yeah,
wine bottles,
yeah.
champagne bottles.
But
in it.
Yeah.
another thing is like, especially like if you don't even have that much stuff, like say you got like milk and like a watermelon and maybe something like fried chicken, um, you don't need a bag for that. You can just like carry it.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the problem too is that a lot of these people, when we have plastic bags, people use they try to use double 2 bags for 1 carton of milk, and that's like a
Yeah,
problem.
sometimes the people in the store do that too. Like without you even asking, they just put everything in bags.
Well, that's the
Wait,
problem.
wait,
Yeah,
Henry. How does, just like to get this straight, how does the carbon emissions happen? Because once people have a better understanding of how it happens, they can stop it.
Well, the carbon emissions are coming from like factories and the producers of the food. Like, you see those big factories like on the side of the road.
Yeah, they like put out.
Yeah, with
Clouds.
like the giant like smokestacks that are producing all the smoke, and it's just like constant, like 24/7. You just see the the gases being produced out of the smokestacks, and like, I mean, there's not much you can do to stop that other than like don't buy, like try not to buy stuff.
So support sustainably produced food. That's what you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
Buy
Uh,
chickens. Buy like
Yeah.
Yeah,
get
and-
fresh eggs.
Yeah, and like factory farming, that's like one of the worst things because of just like how poorly it's like how like unsustainable it is for the environment and just like in general.
Yeah, the most important thing is knowing where your food comes from and the impact it has on the environment. In fact, sometimes like if you think about it, eggs are made, uh, oh, eggs are laid in these hatchery houses, and they're all like everyone's. If you just think about it, it's not just about the environment; it's about being moral as well. Because the chickens are all stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, they're just treated terribly. Like every kind of animal.
Yeah, it's terrible. Doesn't sound good. Evan, you are going over the Long Island Sound, correct?
Yeah.
How do you where does main pollution come from there? How would you stop it personally, or as a group of people?
Well, I think there are a lot of different sources for the pollution of the sound, but I think one of the main sources is like the pollution coming from the rivers around Connecticut. Is I think we were talking about this earlier, but the all the rivers connect to the sound, but people uh like without hesitation just dump trash into rivers and
Who's dumping trash? Is it like just regular
anybody.
people, or is it like
everyone basically. 'Cause
Everybody, like
people
you
don't
have
care.
trash. You don't want to too lazy to put in the dumps. Too lazy to take the dumps. You just throw it in the
Yeah.
ocean.
Is it just like
Sometimes-
is it more common for like companies and like factories and like
Yeah.
businesses to just like dump out their trash there, or is it like people personally like
I think
like
it's-
if they're eating chips on the beach they just dump them
Sometimes
out?
it's
more
not
so
even
people.
intentional.
I
Like
feel like it's
sometimes
more so
I think it's a mix of both. Like people, it's one trash, like one like we said, one chip bag at a time.
Yeah, but there's more people contributing
Yeah,
to
but
than the amount of
companies like getting rid of trash is expensive, so they
Yeah.
just they try to find a quick cause, getting rid of like chemicals. Let's say a company's using chemicals. It's expensive.
That's
It's
very
expensive.
illegal, though.
It's hard to get rid of. Yeah, it is illegal, but
But
it's
it's
hard to
not.
stop.
All right, yeah. Uh, well, sometimes it's not just people dumping in the river. It's just wind carrying stuff to the
Yeah.
rivers.
Yeah, like giant. You have the giant trash piles that the garbage trucks take everything to. Big storm, carry all that out to the ocean.
All
What
of the
about
pit-
what about sewage? How does that affect it in any way?
Well, yeah, because that all
Actually,
gets into the river.
Yeah, and like
the
sometimes in
sound.
major weather events like hurricanes or tornadoes, the sewage drainage gets flooded and will leak into the rivers and go leak into the sound. And I
Well,
researched that.
Doesn't it go to the rivers anyway?
What does?
Like the sewage.
No,
Where
not
does
by
it
default.
normally go?
Well,
It goes to a septic tank. Like once you flush your toilet, it goes to a septic tank. And
Yeah,
think
I mean-
maybe in our
like-
big
in our
companies try to
community,
take
I mean,
care
like-
of
in our community it goes to a septic tank.
Yeah,
We're
but
not-
there's like
Other
there's like a
communities,
lot
it'll
of
go to the
places where
river.
you
Some
see
yeah.
like the big pipes emptying out into the rivers. Like you
Yeah,
know what I'm
the-
talking
Yeah,
about?
with the grates in front.
Yeah.
Of it, yeah.
I think you mean storm drainages.
No. They're like some toilets empty out into like a giant sewer
It's
system.
not even just toilets. It's just
and then
like
that
Well, like
empties
in
out
cities,
into the
right? Like-
ocean or into
Yeah.
the
Like in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, when those flood, that's going to cause sewage to drain into rivers or new rivers that are formed by floods.
As a
which-
community, to stop that, it's a lot of just being mindful of where you're putting your trash, making to like you're on a walk by a river, pick up trash that you see, and you could also sign up for organizations like the Connecticut government hosts like monthly cleanups for like places like the Connecticut River.
where are they? Are they like on the beach?
Anywhere really.
And like they have a lot of different locations on the beach, around the river, in the river. Like they'll give you like some nice wetsuit, pants, or I don't know what it's called.
Wait.
Wetsuit
So
pants. You'll go in and clean it up.
yeah, we did that for wrong, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that. We did that. Also, that's what you can do. You can participate in the cleaning, but also it's more like just a mindset of being
Just be aware.
aware because the ignorance is the main. It's just people just saying, "Oh, okay, it won't affect me now." That's going to be a problem. Like, the environment's going to be a problem for the next generation. That's not going to affect me now. The thing is, it probably will. If this isn't just about like global warming or CO2 emissions, it's about trash being in the river and being in the seas and destroying biodiversity and destroying ecosystems. That's going to be a very it's going to be you're going to be able to see the effect it has, and you're going to actually you're going to experience the consequences as well. Because if you eat fish, if you indulge in anything farm produced or anything sea related food, then you're going to be impacted.
Well, I
Well-
think, sorry, but
Yeah.
like based off what, like, kind of what Evan was saying, it's really just like it's not a big thing to ask for one person to just clean up the trash. It's like I'm not asking. Like the overall goal is just to like get rid of pollution. It's not going to happen, but like we can reduce it, and it's not like you're going around asking everyone for $1 million to contribute. Like
Yeah.
all it takes is
It's-
2 seconds, not even.
It's bringing it to a manageable level. It's not
Yeah.
not about getting rid of it completely.
It could.
Miss O'Keefe,
oh,
if you're listening right now, it's 20 minutes. Thank you.
sorry.
Miss O'Keefe, if you're still listening to this, you made it pretty far. I'm impressed. As a total, there's a lot we can do as a community to clean up after our oceans, to stop carbon emissions, clean up the rivers. Be aware. Don't be throwing stuff out that you don't need to. Don't be wasting
Yeah.
plastic.
Yeah, it's about it's all about advocacy. If you don't talk about these issues and you don't show that you care about these issues, the companies will not.
What does advocacy mean?
It's about talking for
Like
yourself and speaking
advocating.
up.
Well,
Advocate.
especially in Connecticut, like advocacy is the biggest thing you can do. Especially like for like food production, because like it's such a big market and like it's like such a big thing. I mean, like it's like everywhere around the world, and in Connecticut, like the easiest thing you can do is just advocate and like support more
Organization.
Yeah,
Sustainable
yeah,
farming
because companies want to make
things
money.
like that.
That's the goal of a company.
It's
is
the
to-
goal of
If
anyone.
nobody
Yeah.
buys their products because of something you're doing, they're gonna change it.
Besides Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
right.
And what they want to do is they want to make the people happy.
Yeah, and Mr. Beast, he does like do a lot of charity.
That's not the point,
Yeah,
though.
cleaning. Oh, also you could donate to companies like cleaning the
Donate
ocean.
is a good
Cleaning
way.
the ocean.
Team
That's
Seas.
good.
Team Seas. Yeah, $1, 1 pound removed from the ocean.
That's yeah.
Just
Those are like the things that we need more of. You know.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
what the people can do.
Thank you for listening. Signing off. It's
Thank you.
Evan.
Henry.
Liam Porter.
And Evan Lalor.